This webinar is on the topic of the American Dream. I became interested in the concept of the American Dream well before taking a class called The Future of the American Dream at Arizona State University. I took the idea more seriously, at least, since I had studied philosophy of ethics during college for my first graduate degree. In studying this concept, my hope is to improve the country and to get along better with others. As with many complex ideas, the American Dream varies in meaning in nuanced ways across the population, across time, across cultures, and in different contexts or uses. In case you're not as familiar with the term, I will say that when I refer to the American Dream, I'm speaking of the ethical ideal that guides how we ought to act if we are to achieve success in this country. Throughout the video, I'll have moments for reflection where you could record your responses in your journal, discussion board, or in the comments section to interact with the material. Look for the reflections at the bottom of the slides in the gray font. Reading the American Dream as an ethical ideal, we are interested in the trajectory it's setting for us. We might ask how the dream is operating in society and whether it is something we ought to maintain or if it is in need of renovation. To take a closer look, I'll present some research on the past, present, and future of the American Dream. For the historical perspective, my references come from the syllabus of the ASU class. In this class, we read pieces of writing from early colonial life up to present day, from Whitman and Adams to Reagan and Obama. We also explored art and music, movies, and poems, as well as opinion pieces, interviews, speeches, and policy. From this collection of references, we were asked to collect short phrases that captured important aspects of the text. I used these assignments to gather phrases that depict the common use of the phrase, such as typical Americana imagery, but I also selected terms that represented a potential perspective of a better society. In this way, I wanted to be able to eventually use the author's and artist's own language to depict ways to improve the concept of the American Dream, to illustrate the better way forward they could have in mind. From this idea of the past, I have organized my key terms into themes. Those themes are U.S. as a superpower, continuous improvement, something systematically wrong, something must change, positively dreamy, everyone together, and love of life. Let's take a closer look at these. The U.S. as a superpower is shown in phrases such as the most powerful, prosperous nation, the American way, exceptionalism, and second to nothing. It says, we're number one and we're the boss, or at least we think so. Along these lines, the next batch describes how we always want to get better, as in terms like progress, efficiency, climb the ladder, pioneers, what's shown in the immigrant experience, and the rich get richer. We don't often settle. Although these notions might have helped us to become a top nation, they might also be part of the problem. The next category of terms capture not just that something isn't right, but that the way society is organized or managed is at least part of the problem. These phrases are differential access to prestige, social sources of antisocial behavior, profiting unduly, or game rigged against us. With these problems in mind, the authors and artists often were critical, and were instituting a call to action. Duty to revolt against tyranny, a conscious revolution, pragmatic social solutions, a New Deal, topple the system, and must burn before it gets better, show that part of the American way of not settling is to do something when we feel morally uncomfortable. With that mentality in mind, the next list is of goals or moral goods that are discussed. However, as our class discussion revealed, sometimes the dreaminess neglected the problem rather than addressing it. So this classification presents a mixed bag of optimism and comfortable suburban middle-class life, along with drifting, glory days, and the unreality of reality. It's important to note how this category is really at a completely different end of the spectrum from the first two categories, which showed the country being great and never settling, as well as the problems citizens face within the third category. Although problems such as racism and exclusion still haunt our country, the American dream often entails a universal democratic ideal, which is part of the appeal to people from other countries. The next to last category speaks to the oneness of our global community and being citizens of the world in a shared human family. In the last section, I have specially set aside the guiding light terms that to me illustrate the highest level of moral principles. These ideas are valuing happiness in life itself, protecting life, not destroying it, love, and bottomless vitality. So if I am to predict the future of the American dream from what emerges from these overarching themes in the research, I would present it as: a determination for continuous improvement has driven the US to become an elite superpower. But something is systematically wrong, as many are being left behind and not seeing the American dream fulfilled. Something must be done to more formally ensure positive living for everyone together, rather than any certain privileged group alone. The future of the American dream can be rejuvenated if we personally, collectively, and institutionally adopt the principles of a love of life to protect everyone's well-being and better our world. Here is another point where we could stop for reflection before moving on to the next section. I'm next going to talk about the present status of the American dream. To put it simply, it is commercialized, on steroids, and possibly dead. The methods for this section use techniques from Mark White and Google research programs. The top page of results, searching for American Dream, included just over 22,000 words of text and provided people, mobility, just, and words for notions such as the 1% and better life at the top of the list, as you can see depicted in the word cloud generated. Take a minute to note other related words that stand out to you. Any surprises? I ran the process again, this time searching for define the American dream. Here, 29 unique definitions are produced, containing 1,061 words. The most common terms are in hard work and a prosperous life. Opportunity and mobility are again highlighted. So the definitions generally portray the notion that working hard in order to succeed will help you to capture opportunities for social mobility. Google Trends reveals that the American dream has diminished as a topic online and has seen less searches between 2004 to 2014. Although historically, it has tended to increase appearances in books, even in other languages. Until recently, the term might be more popular than ever, but it may be more popular in other countries and potentially more achievable elsewhere as well. Searches today ask if the dream is dead, and draw attention from financial web pages and complaints from the most recent election. When people search Google for the American dream, the most popular searches they use are for music and movies about the dream. Chomsky's documentary, various rappers, and George Carlin talk about how current events, such as the housing crisis and bank bailouts, influence the dream. A promotion of luxury is lavished over a simple life, and the future is in doubt. Just like the current president, the future of the American dream might mean more reality TV and celebrities. In 2024, the centennial birthday of the American dream, some plan funerals for it, while an ambitious young candidate is running for office. The candidate's platform is full of policies with emphasis on reinvigorating the country with new ideas of the American dream. This patriotic message propels the candidate to successfully be elected and motivates Congress to adopt legislation that removes many of the obstacles for social mobility, opening up more opportunities for more people with higher probability of success. Let's take another minute to reflect. Now I'll move on to emphasize the future of the American dream but in a different way. I would like to more specifically apply another moral concept gaining traction today, that is, sustainability. Sustainability captures social transformation, environmental appreciation, and economic success. Perhaps sustainability can be the remedy for the toxins that have corrupted the American dream. In this section, I've asked students at ASU's School of Sustainability and others using Facebook to explain what can be done to make the future of the American dream more sustainable. Similarly to the other sections, I captured keywords from their responses and will use them to demonstrate how we might improve the dream. From a sustainability perspective, the problems seem to stem from profit, consumption, and waste. The solutions redefine the dream and the economy with social programs for affordable education and healthcare, and wages that better cover the cost of living. There is still emphasis on uniting everyone through connecting in more meaningful ways. The focus on life is important, and other concepts such as a basic income, green energy, and even a fun portrayal of a dream house as a tiny home with a picket fence, as long as it has regionally appropriate plants. From these notions, we can create the vision of the American dream that sustainability-minded folks are working toward. 2050. Within our lifetimes, we can overhaul the energy system to fight climate change. In the meantime, we can reconfigure the education, employment, livelihood nexus to better manage a new economy where basic needs are better met and where everyone has greater opportunity to reach their potential, with lesser worry over unemployment and surprise emergency costs. A redistribution of wealth and resources is accomplished through a change in mentality. As everyone counts and is cared for, the system becomes more sustainable cooperatively. Greening the American dream is only a first step, but organizations can be better put to use to offer custom, personalized pathways based on individual preferences and capabilities that don't tread on others and do not diminish support for future generations. This research into past, present, and future-oriented perspectives of the American dream was selected to emphasize that the future is open, but guided by our perceptions. The historical view represents foundational beliefs constituting our institutions. We may have to disrupt this view if we think the dream has turned into a nightmare. The present from Google shows how today's organizations are marketing the dream and how pop culture and media are directing our values. These organizations also have power and could be part of the problem or a solution. Also, the search terms reveal how the public is curious about the term, understanding it and what they find. Not only is sustainability important to me, but I wanted to get others' thoughts, so that each of these dreams are mostly using what others are saying so as to be less biased as a researcher. These futures are plausible as there is some evidence for them coming to reality. The historical perspective represents the status quo, with only a slight sense of optimism added for a hopeful future. In State of the Union addresses and political campaigns, we can be sure that candidates will utilize American Dream rhetoric to capture the nation's attention. However, it's equally likely to be ridiculed as it is to be embraced. The current continued unrest assures that it is likely to change, though the direction is unclear. Lastly, the sustainable future is what many change agents are actively working toward in systematic ways and marching in protest to support. For these reasons, elements of this future are likely to get enacted as they are specific goals aimed at today. To operationalize the American dream, we could still take a closer look at which values are most appropriate to encourage, investigate which pathways are working, which are broken, and explore best practices for implementation or policy. To wrap up, the research has revealed further questions about the concept of the American dream, which could make for more interesting future work. I wonder if competition and social classes are necessary, or if equality is actually possible. It's still unclear whether a basic good life for everyone is compatible with the limitless wealth of a few. If we provided a guaranteed comfortable life to those with disadvantages, To what extent should they be allowed to pursue limitless success, since they've been helped? I hope you've enjoyed the reflections. Feel free to share your thoughts or to share other questions that you have. Thanks again.